boundaries that you need to set as a new virtual assistant to make sure that your journey is enjoyable. Now, one of the reasons that you started your virtual assistant business was to get more freedom. But also I know that you're probably coming away from toxicity in an office politics, backstabbing, bitching, managers thinking that you're there all the hours available, all the hours contacting you out of time, not paying you any extra though for any of that. And that's probably a lot of the background to why you want to become a virtual assistant. So we need to set boundaries. Now, I'm not only going to talk to you about why you need to set boundaries, but also give you some ideas on boundaries that you can use early on in your business. I'm Catherine Gladwyn and I've been a virtual assistant since late 2015, and since 2018 I've been helping women just like you start, build and grow their own successful virtual assistant businesses. Now, like I said, you've probably come away from a toxic workplace or one that just doesn't fit your way of life. Doesn't fit the hours that you need to look after children, maintain your health, look after loved ones, or just actually have a life. So we need to put some boundaries in place so that you can have a life. You can be there for children if that's what you want. You can be there to take them to school, pick them up. You can have lunches with your friends. You can start work when suits you. Now, what I've found with mentoring women since 2018 is that a lot of you think, no, it's not acceptable for a client to contact me on a Sunday, but you never actually tell them. So that's why it's a good idea to set your boundaries early on. And if you've already got the Coffee Clatch contracts, then you'd have had that free booking form with it as well, which is absolutely phenomenal. And in there, you can set things like your working hours, your payment terms, and things like that. So if you've not yet got your contracts from Coffee Clatch, do get those, and remember the code CATH10 for 10% off, because we can put some of your boundaries in there as well. So let's get down to what boundaries I recommend that you put in place at the beginning of your business. So the first one, and perhaps the main one to enable you to create the working life that you want, is to think about your working hours. If you've got children, you may not want to start work till perhaps 9:30. Imagine that, right? You can have a completely relaxing morning getting the kids ready, if there is such a thing. They can all have breakfast. You don't need to worry about anything. You can just get yourself ready or just put on some clothes to run them down to school. Come back, have a coffee, turn the laptop on about 9:30. Bliss. And you might want to work to perhaps 2:45 if you pick the kids up at 3, earlier on a Friday if they finish earlier. Think about what hours you want to work, what hours you need to work in order to bring in enough money. So perhaps you're going to work 9:30 till 2:30, but then you're going to work 8:30 till 9:30 at night when the children are in bed as well, so that you can do your marketing then or something like that. So think about your working hours, write them down and stick to them. That's the main thing. I'm going to talk about how to make sure you never break your boundaries and why you shouldn't in a minute. Okay, so the second thing is working days. So I'm 7 years into my VA journey, and it was only in June this year of my 7th year that I decided I'm no longer working Mondays. My partner doesn't work Mondays, so it makes sense. So we have Mondays together now, or well, I drag around after him anyway. But yeah, it was only this year that I decided I wasn't going to work Mondays. Perhaps your children finish early on a Friday from school, or perhaps it's you notoriously have to have hospital appointments on a Monday or something like that. So it's going to be easier for you if you choose to not work a Friday or not work a Monday. But always consider how much money you need to bring in so that you can make sure you're not working your arse off the other 4 days or something like that. But it may not be a work day. It may not be a Monday to Friday day. You may decide I am never working a Saturday or a Sunday. So make sure as well you can put that on your booking form when you get that from Coffee Clatch, that your working days are Monday to Friday, 9:30 till 2:30, or Tuesday to Friday, 10 till 4, whatever you choose, but stick to it. You can also put that in your email signature as well. I've got in mind, please note I do not work Mondays, and all of my clients know that now, all of them. Now, another boundary you want to put in place, and you may have just thought of this anyway, not even considered that it's a boundary, or perhaps you've not thought about it yet, but it's your payment terms. You need to be sure what your payment terms are. Now, you may not know also that you can have your payment terms as payment on receipt. So as soon as you send the client the invoice, they got to pay it. You could have it at 7 days, 14 days. You could even have it at 30 days, but I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you have it on payment on receipt, or 3 days or 7 days maximum. And you set that from the beginning. So as soon as that invoice is late, you can then chase them. So that's a really good boundary to have in place. I've said in a previous video that on one occasion I did have a client say to me, yeah, well, our payment terms are 30 days. Yeah, but mine aren't, buddy. It's 7. So stick to your boundaries. That client stuck to it in the end. He paid me in 7 days, so think about what you want and stick to it. Now, something I didn't think about until quite late in my business was how I prefer to communicate, and I've really had to adapt it as my health has deteriorated. So I used to allow clients, I used to give them my phone number. I thought it was the right thing to do as a business owner. I didn't think that I could withhold it. So clients would just ring me. At the beginning, I had this god-awful client that would just ring me at any time. You know, I'd be out and about and she would just ring me. I could be perhaps out shopping or with a mate or something like that, and the phone would ring. Stupid me, I'd answer it. But then what could I do? I'd given her my number. So now I don't give my clients my number. I only communicate via email. So again, I refer to the booking form from Coffee Clatch. It says on there that I can put my phone number in there, and I just put not applicable. And I've also put communication by email only. So that could be another thing that you prefer. I also prefer email as well, because of the person inside me doesn't trust anybody. I like to have everything in writing so that at a later date I can go back and go, no, you said this. But also for my own memory as well, because I forget things. But yeah, you may be absolutely fine with having clients phone you. And if you are, just have a think about what days and times they can do that, because some business owners just work 24/7. They're completely oblivious to it being 8 o'clock on a Sunday night or something like that. So make sure you say, you know, this is my phone number, but you can only call me between 10 and 2 or something like that. And if they phone outside of that time, click onto voicemail. Now, before I go on to 2 more boundaries you might want to set, I want to say why it is important that you don't break any boundaries, not even once. And this is because as soon as you break it, you are telling that person it's okay. And even if you say to somebody, I'll just do it this once for you, they're going to think she's done it once, she'll do it again. So don't ever break a boundary. I know it's hard. I know you think, oh God, if I don't do it, I'm going to lose them as a client. You are not. I promise you. Look, I am 7 years in. I am promising you, I've been through almost every scenario, I am sure. And I'm telling you, as soon as you say no to a client, you don't lose them. They respect you more. They really do. You must remember that you are their equal. You're not an employee, you are a business owner, and that's what they are too. So if they want you to do something that's outside of your boundaries, you can just say no and pause. And I think it's 13 seconds. That's all you have to leave it, and they will fill the gap. Try it. Try it with the husband next time he wants a cup of tea. Okay, 2 more boundaries. You might want to charge for calls. In fact, I suggest you do have that somewhere in your booking form or something like that, or on your terms, that you charge for calls. You know how it is, you know. Have you got 5 minutes? They phone you and then it's like, hi, did you have a nice weekend? You said 5 minutes. I don't want to talk to you about my weekend. You are a client. Get to the point. I started bringing in charging for calls probably after, I think it might have been about 2 years after I started my business. And as soon as I brought that in, it's amazing how many clients don't actually need to phone you. They can just put it in an email. It stops all the unnecessary calls, and you've got to remember that your time is money. And when a client phones you, you have to stop what you're doing to answer that call. You have to think about it. You're going to take notes. You maybe want to implement whatever it is that you've talked about with the client after the call, or perhaps on the call. And then when you've done that, you have to get back into the mindset of what you were doing previously, whether it was with your family or whether it was for another client, whatever it was. So it is time, a lot of time wasted, and time is money. So it's a lot of money lost if you're not charging for these calls. So I recommend you do that from the beginning as well. Now, a really good one to have in place is expectations or turnaround. So you may have seen in a previous video of mine, I do not recommend that you charge any less for retainers. In fact, if you do, you're going to end up losing money. So the incentive for clients to want to book retainers with you is the quicker turnaround for work. So when you get really busy and you've got lots of clients on retainers and you've also got lots of clients coming to you for ad hoc work, you're going to be like, oh, am I going to do everything? So what I recommend is you have a turnaround of up to 72 hours for ad hoc work and 24 hours for retainers. You might want to put that at 48 for retainers, but if you can do 24, brilliant. And because you've already stated your working days and your working hours, they're not going to expect things like on a Saturday if they've given it to you on a Friday. But yes, set the expectations so that they know when work is going to be turned around. This also stops that some ad hoc people or rogue clients that come out of nowhere and say, I've got a bit of urgent work, I'm going to give it to you at 3 o'clock, I want it back by the end of the day. And you're like, well, I'm going to have to say yes, because it's a bit of extra money, and if I say no, they'll go somewhere else. They might go somewhere else. More often than not, they don't. But if they do go somewhere else, it's a win-win situation, because I don't know about you, but I don't like working with people that think that their work is urgent. None of them are neuroscientists. None of them are neurosurgeons, sorry. Nothing they're doing is particularly urgent, and their lack of planning ain't your problem. So get those turnaround times stuck in your head and make sure they're on your booking form as well, so that nobody takes the mickey. Now, like I said earlier in the video, lots of business owners work 24/7, so they will email you on a Sunday sometimes. But that doesn't mean that you have to reply. In fact, I recommend that you don't. Because like I said earlier, as soon as you do something that's outside of your boundaries, you're telling that client that it's okay. So if you're ever presented with a scenario where a client phones you and you don't want them to be phoning you at that time, or they email outside of your working hours, either ignore them or by all means reply and say, I don't work today, I'll reply to you tomorrow. But don't reply and respond to the query or do the work, because you're telling them that that boundary no longer exists. Now, all I want to leave you with is to remind you that you are your client's equal. You're not an employee, you are a business owner just like them, so your boundaries are absolutely fine to have in place. Good luck with everything. Now, if you could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell as well, you'll be notified every time I release a new video. Thanks for watching.